The doorbell camera caught everything. My brother, Mark, pulling up in his SUV during a blizzard, his 2 kids in the back. He dragged them onto my porch, rang the bell, and drove off before I could even open the door. The kids were shivering, crying. He'd told them I was dangerous. But here they were, abandoned at my house in a storm. I was standing in my kitchen when the notification pinged on my phone. 7:58 p.m. on Monday, January 13th, 2025. The wind was howling outside, snow already piling against the porch steps. I looked at the Ring app and saw a figure on my screen. Mark. He had Lily by one arm and Ethan by the other. They were both wearing thin jackets. No hats. No gloves. I opened the front door just as he was getting back into his SUV. His headlights were already on, the engine running. "Mark?" I called out. He didn't turn around. He didn't say a word. The driver's door slammed, and he reversed down my driveway, tires spinning on the ice. I stood there in the doorway, the cold air hitting my face. The taillights disappeared around the corner. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "Watch them for a week. I'm going to Cancun." I lowered my phone and looked at the kids. Lily was 9. Ethan was 7. They were standing on my porch, snow melting in their hair, their faces red from crying. Lily was holding a small backpack. Ethan was clutching a stuffed dinosaur. "Aunt Claire?" Lily's voice was barely a whisper. "Come inside," I said. My voice came out calm. "Steady?" That's how I get when things fall apart. I go still. I ushered them through the door and closed it against the storm. The wind rattled the windows. I knelt down and helped Ethan out of his jacket. His hands were cold, ice cold. "Where's Daddy?" Ethan asked. "He had to go," I said. "You're staying with me for a few days." Lily looked at me with wide eyes. She was trying to decide something. I could see it on her face. Then she said the words I knew were coming. "Daddy said you were mean." I didn't flinch. "He said you were dangerous," she added. "He said you might hurt us." I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I said, "Did he?" She nodded. Ethan was staring at the floor. "Come help me make hot chocolate," I said. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just turned and walked into the kitchen. I filled the kettle. I pulled out the cocoa mix. I heard their footsteps behind me, hesitant at first, then soft on the linoleum floor. If this story moves you, please consider subscribing to K6 Karma in the family. I'll wait. The kettle boiled. I poured the water. I stirred the cocoa slowly, watching the steam rise. And while I did, I was thinking about my doorbell camera. I had a Ring system. It recorded everything. Every second of that driveway moment. Mark pulling up. Mark dragging the kids out. Mark leaving without a backward glance. I pulled out my phone and opened the app. The footage was there, time-stamped, clear as glass. I saved it to my phone. Then I saved it to my laptop. Then I uploaded it to the cloud. When I came back to the table with the mugs, Lily was crying again. Quietly this time. Ethan was holding her hand. "I don't want to be here," Lily said. "Daddy says you're not safe." I sat down across from them. Not too close. Not too far. "I understand," I said. "You don't know me. And that's okay. But here's the truth. You are safe here. You can sleep in the guest room. You can eat whatever you find in the fridge. And if you want to call your dad, you can use my phone." Lily looked at me. A long, searching look. "He left us," she said. "I know." She took the hot chocolate. Her hands were trembling. I saved the footage. I didn't know it yet, but that video would be the only thing standing between my brother and the truth. The kids fell asleep on the couch around 9:30. Lily curled into a ball with her head on a throw pillow. Ethan lay across the other end, his stuffed dinosaur tucked under his arm. I covered them both with blankets from the hall closet. I stood there for a minute, watching them breathe. Then I walked to the kitchen and opened my laptop. The doorbell footage was still on my phone. I transferred it to the laptop first, then to a USB drive. Then I uploaded it to my cloud storage. 3 copies. I wasn't sure why I felt the need to be so thorough, but I've always believed in backup plans. Mark's text sat in my messages. "Watch them for a week. I'm going to Cancun." Sent at 8:01 p.m. 1 minute after he drove off. I took a screenshot. Then, another one of the timestamp. At 10 o'clock, Lily woke up. She wandered into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. "Can't sleep?" I asked. She shook her head. "Do you want to talk?" She hesitated. Then she sat down at the table across from me. "Aunt Claire?" "Yes." "Daddy said you were mean." I nodded, didn't flinch. "He said you were dangerous," she continued. "He said you might hurt us." "What do you think now?" She looked around the kitchen, at the hot chocolate mugs in the sink, at the blankets I'd draped over her brother, at my face. "I don't know," she said. "That's okay," I said. "You don't have to decide tonight." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "He never made us hot chocolate." I didn't reply. I just let her sit there. The next morning, I made pancakes. Ethan came to the table slowly, watching me from the doorway. Lily sat down first. She took a bite. "They're good," she said. Ethan sat down. I asked them questions, simple ones. "What grade are you in? Who's your teacher?" "What's your favorite subject?" Lily answered for both of them. Ethan nodded along. At one point, Lily said, "Daddy says Mommy is mean too." I kept my face neutral. "Why does he say that?" "She wants to take us away from him. He says she's just trying to get money." I remembered Sarah from the divorce. She'd been a good mother. She'd fought for more time with the kids. Mark had fought back hard. "Do you think your mom is mean?" I asked. Lily shook her head. "No, she makes us dinner. She reads us stories." I nodded. That was all I needed. After breakfast, while the kids watched cartoons, I checked Mark's call logs. He'd called Sarah at 11:15 the night before, while he was supposed to be flying to Cancun. I dialed her number. She answered on the second ring. "Go?" "Sarah, it's Claire." A pause. "Claire, Mark told me he dropped the kids off with you." "He did, in a blizzard. He sent me a text saying, 'Watch them for a week,' and drove off." Her voice cracked. "He did what?" "He left them on my porch at 7:58 p.m. My doorbell camera caught everything." Silence. Then a sound I didn't expect, a quiet, bitter laugh. "He told me he was taking them to a friend's house," she said. "He said you were unstable. He said he couldn't trust you." That's what he told Lily and Ethan, too. She exhaled. "Claire, I've been trying to get full custody since the divorce. But I never had proof. He's careful. He never leaves evidence." "I have evidence," I said. "Doorbell footage." His text. The call log showing he called you to gloat. "He did call me," she said. "He said, 'I dumped the kids with Claire. I'm in Cancun. Enjoy your week off.'" I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice even. "Send me those texts." "I will. Also, send me anything else you have. Emails. Voicemails. Anything that shows neglect." She paused. "You're building a case." "Yes." "Claire, she stopped. "That's more than I ever dared to hope for." We talked for another 20 minutes. She told me about the custody hearings, about Mark's lawyer arguing that she was unstable, about the judge's hesitation. "Without proof," she said, "I'm just another bitter ex-wife." "Now you have proof." Her voice trembled. "Can I see the footage?" "Not yet. I want to wait until Mark comes back." "In LA." "Because I want to see his face when he realizes what I have." She was quiet. Then she said, "You're not the soft sister he told me about." "No," I said, "I'm not." The screenshots arrived an hour later. Mark's texts bragging about the vacation, about dumping the kids, about how Claire was too weak to fight back. I saved everyone. Over the next few days, the kids relaxed. Lily started calling me Aunt Claire without the hesitation. Ethan asked me to read him a story before bed. They stopped flinching when I walked into the room. On Friday night, Lily said, "You're not dangerous." "No," I said, "I'm not." "Good." "Yes," I said, "he did." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Why would he do that?" I didn't have an answer that wouldn't break her heart. So I just said, "I don't know, sweetheart, but I'm glad you're here." She hugged me, tight, and I hugged her back. On Sunday, Mark texted me, "Back tomorrow." Okay. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the folder on my laptop. Doorbell footage, text screenshots, call logs. Sarah's screenshots, everything organized by date. Tomorrow, my brother would come to take the kids. He had no idea what was waiting for him. As I closed the laptop, my phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "He just called me," she said. "He's going to CPS. Be ready." I put the phone down. Let him call. Let them come. I had everything they needed. Sarah's voice cracked on that phone call. "He left them in a blizzard? I have to see that footage." I promised I'd show her. But first, I had to wait for Mark to come back. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. The snow had stopped, but the wind was still biting. I had the kids fed and dressed by 9. Lily was helping Ethan build a fort in the living room with couch cushions. They were laughing. I heard the SUV before I saw it. The familiar rumble of Mark's engine turning onto my street. I went to the window and watched him pull into the driveway. He parked, got out, and stretched like he'd just returned from a spa. He was wearing a tan jacket I'd never seen. New. Probably bought in Cancun. He walked up the front steps and rang the bell. I opened the door. "Good morning, Mark." "Morning, sis. Where are they? I'm here to pick them up." He tried to step past me into the house. I didn't move. "They're inside. We need to talk first." "Talk later. I have a long drive." He waved his hand like shooing a fly. "Mark, we're going to talk first." Something in my voice made him pause. He looked at me, really looked, for the first time. "What's your problem?" "Min, please." He sighed heavily and stepped inside. I closed the door behind him. The kids heard his voice. Lily came to the hallway first, then Ethan. Lily stopped when she saw her father. Her face went tight. "Hey kids, Daddy's back. Grab your stuff." Mark's voice was bright, practiced. Lily didn't move. "We don't want to go." Mark's smile flickered. "What?" Ethan stepped behind his sister. "We want to stay with Aunt Claire," Lily said. Her voice was small but clear. Mark's face changed. The smile vanished, replaced by something flatter. "What did you say?" "She said they want to stay with me, Mark." I kept my voice even. He turned to me, eyes narrowing. "What did you do to them?" "I made them pancakes. I let them choose the movie. I listened when they talked." "You brainwashed them." He said it slowly, like he was solving a puzzle. "You poisoned them against me." "No, Mark. They told me what you've been saying about me. About Sarah. The truth came out when I just let them talk." His face went red. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to steal my kids." "Nobody's stealing anyone. They're right here. You can ask them yourself." Lily stepped forward. "Daddy, you said Aunt Claire was dangerous." "But she's not. She's safe." "Lily, come here. Now." Mark's voice was hard. She shook her head. "No." Mark stared at her. His jaw worked. He looked at me, and his expression shifted from anger to something colder. "You're going to regret this, Claire." "I already don't regret anything about this week, Mark." I walked to the kitchen table. The folder was there, waiting. I picked it up and came back to the hallway. I held it out to him. "What's this?" "Open it." He took it, hesitated, then flipped it open. I watched his face as he scanned the first page. The doorbell footage screenshot, his face at the wheel, the kids in the back. The timestamp, 7:58 p.m., January 13th. Ooh, what is this? "Keep going." He flipped the pages. The text message, screenshot. "Watch them for a week. I'm going to Cancun." The call log showing he called Sarah at 11:15 that same night. Sarah's screenshots of his texts bragging about dumping the kids. His face went pale, then red. A flush rose from his collar to his hairline. "Where did you get these?" "Your ex-wife sent some of them. My doorbell camera got the rest." "Sarah? You're working with Sarah?" "Yes, Mark. Sarah and I are on the same side. The side of Lily and Ethan." He slammed the folder shut. "This is nothing. I'll tell the judge you hacked my phone." You fabricated everything. You can try that, Mark, but the footage has a timestamp. The text has your number and my reply, and your ex-wife has a dozen more messages from you, all bragging about what you did. He took a step toward me. You have no idea what you've done. I know exactly what I've done. I've documented the truth. The kids were watching from the living room entrance. Lily had her arm around Ethan. They were silent. Mark looked at them, then at me. His face twisted. He pointed at me. This isn't over. It never was. He threw the folder on the floor. Papers scattered across the tile. He turned and walked out the door, slamming it behind him. I heard his SUV engine start, tires spinning on the cold asphalt, then fade away. I knelt down and gathered the pages. The kids came over. Lily helped me pick them up. Did we make him angry? She whispered. No, sweetheart. He made himself angry. She hugged me. I held her. Ethan wrapped his arms around both of us. The front door was still shaking from the slam. I looked out the window. Mark's taillights were rounding the corner. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. He just called me. He's going to CPS. Be ready. I put the folder back together and walked to my laptop. The doorbell footage was queued up. The text screenshots were open. The call logs were ready. Let them come. 2 days passed. I spent them cleaning, cooking, helping Lily with her homework, and building a fort out of couch cushions with Ethan. We didn't talk about Mark. We didn't talk about what happened when he came back. We just existed in the warm bubble of my living room, snow piled high against the windows, the world outside muffled and still. My phone buzzed on Wednesday morning at 10:15. I was wiping down the kitchen counter. The caller ID said, Oakwood County. I answered, Claire Mitchell. What? This is Patricia Delgado from Child Protective Services. I'd like to come by your home this morning to conduct a wellness check. Are you available? I said yes. I didn't ask why. I knew why. She arrived at 10:30 exactly, a woman in her mid-40s, sharp gray coat, sensible boots, a clipboard in her hand. She stamped the snow off her shoes on the porch. I opened the door and invited her in. Thank you for seeing me on short notice, she said. Of course. I led her to the kitchen. The kids were in the living room building a skyscraper out of blocks. Ethan was narrating a dramatic collision between a fire truck and a dinosaur. Lily was laughing. Ms. Delgado sat at my kitchen table. She set the clipboard down. She looked at me with professional neutrality. I'm here because your brother filed a complaint, she said. He alleges you're holding his children against his will. He says you're unstable and that he's concerned for their safety. I didn't react. I just nodded. I see. Can you tell me your side of the story? I stood up and walked to my laptop, which was already open on the counter. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain. I just turned the screen toward her and pressed play. The doorbell footage started. 7:58 p.m. on January 13th. Mark's SUV pulling up in the blizzard. Mark dragging Lily and Ethan out of the back seat. Mark ringing the bell and running back to the car. The taillights disappearing into the white. I watched Ms. Delgado's face. Her expression shifted. The professional neutrality cracked. Her mouth opened slightly. Her eyes widened. The video ended. I played it again. When it finished the second time, she looked at me. Her voice was quiet. He left them in a blizzard? Wes? She stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she picked up her pen. She wrote something on her clipboard. Like Bull? How long were they outside? About 4 minutes before I got to the door. I was upstairs. Were they properly dressed? They had what they were wearing. No hats. No gloves. They didn't have coats. She wrote more? Her hand was shaking slightly. Do you have the text message he sent you? I opened my phone and showed her. The screenshot. The message. Watch them for a week. I'm going to Cancun. Sent at 8:01 p.m. on January 13th. Ms. Delgado read it. She set the phone down. She took a slow breath. Ma'am, I need to tell you something. This complaint from your brother, based on the evidence I'm seeing here, the investigation will not focus on you. We'll focus on him. I nodded. I have more, I said. I pulled out the folder. The call logs showing Mark called Sarah at 11:15 the night he left. The the screenshots Sarah had sent me of Mark bragging about dumping the kids on me. The text from Sarah warning me Mark was going to CPS. Delgado went through each page carefully. She read every word. She looked at the screenshots twice. Then she closed the folder and looked at me. Where are the children's parents? Mark's ex-wife Sarah is their mother. She's been fighting for full custody since the divorce. Mark has told the kids I'm dangerous. That's why they were scared when he dropped them off. And now? I gestured toward the living room. Lily was stacking blocks on Ethan's head. He was giggling. Delgado watched them for a moment. Then she looked back at me. Has he ever left them with you before? Never. This was the first time. Do you know why he chose you? I thought about it. The answer was simple and ugly. Because nobody else would take them, and he knew I would. Ms. Delgado wrote that down too. She closed her notebook. She stood up. I'll be opening an investigation into your brother's fitness as a parent, she said. I'll need to interview the children. Can we do that now? The interview took 40 minutes. Delgado spoke to Lily first, then Ethan. She kept her voice gentle. She asked simple questions. Where did you sleep last night? What did you eat for breakfast? How did you get here? The kids answered honestly. Lily told her about the blizzard. Ethan said he was scared when Daddy drove away. He said Aunt Claire made him pancakes. Delgado wrote it all down. When she finished, she packed her clipboard into her bag. I walked her to the door. She turned to me on the porch. The snow had stopped. The air was sharp and cold. Mitchell, I need to tell you something. Your brother's complaint is unfounded. I'll be recommending that your home be approved as a temporary placement for the children while we complete the investigation. I nodded. Thank you. She took a step and then paused. Claire? Quedó? Thank you for being their safe place. I didn't say anything. I just nodded again. She walked down the driveway to her car. I stood in the doorway and watched her drive away. I knew this was just the beginning. The custody hearing was set for Friday, January 31st at 9 in the morning. Oakwood County Family Court. I had never been inside a courtroom before. I always thought they would feel imposing. Instead, it was just a room with bad lighting and too many chairs. I met Emily Chen at 8:15 that morning. She was already waiting outside the courthouse, a leather briefcase at her feet. Her coat was pressed, her glasses were spotless. She looked like someone who had never lost a case. You have the original footage? She asked. I held up my laptop. And a USB drive, and a cloud backup. And a burned DVD, just in case, she almost smiled. Good! Mark's lawyer is going to try to paint you as unstable. The girlfriend narrative, the jealous sister story. We're going to let the video speak for itself. Sarah arrived a few minutes later. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in a week. Her hands were shaking as she clutched a cup of coffee. I put my hand on her arm. It's going to be okay, I said. She nodded, but she didn't look convinced. We walked in together. The courtroom was half full. A clerk sat at a desk. The judge's bench was elevated, wooden, worn smooth from decades of hands. I took a seat in the second row. Sarah sat next to me. Emily sat up at the table on the left. Mark walked in at 8:58. He was wearing a suit I had never seen. Blue, double-breasted. His hair was gelled. He looked like a man who thought he had already won. He did not look at me. His lawyer was a thin man with a receding hairline named Mr. Hastings. He carried a single manila folder. Confident, underprepared. The judge entered at exactly 9. A woman in her 50s, gray hair, reading glasses perched on her nose. She sat down, adjusted the microphone, and looked over the room. We are here for Mitchell versus Mitchell, she said. Custody modification. Who is speaking for the petitioner? Emily stood. Emily Chen, Your Honor, representing Sarah Mitchell, the mother. And for the respondent? Mr. Hastings stood. John Hastings, Your Honor, representing Mark Mitchell, the father. The judge nodded. Let's proceed. Mr. Hastings went first. He spoke for 10 minutes. He painted a picture of a devoted father who had been wronged. He said Mark had trusted his sister to watch the children for a single night. He said Claire had refused to return them. He said Claire had a history of instability. He used a word I hated, unhinged. He said it 3 times. Sarah's knuckles were white on the armrest. I stayed still. Then Emily stood. "Your Honor," she said, "I would like to enter into evidence, Exhibit A." She handed a USB drive to the clerk. The judge raised an eyebrow. "What is Exhibit A?" "Footage from a Ring doorbell camera, time-stamped Monday, January 13th, 2025, at 7:58 p.m. Mr. Hastings objected. "Relevance, Your Honor? This is an attempt to prejudice the court." Emily didn't flinch. "This footage shows the respondent abandoning his 2 minor children on his sister's porch during a blizzard. I believe it is entirely relevant to his fitness as a parent." The judge looked at the screen. "I'll review the evidence." The clerk loaded the footage. The courtroom went silent. The video was grainy, lit by the porch light, but it was clear. Mark's SUV pulling up, holes, the doors opening. Lily and Ethan being dragged onto the porch, no hats, no gloves. Mark ringing the bell. Mark walking back to the SUV. The taillights disappearing into the snow. The entire room watched in silence. The video ended. The judge did not move. She stared at the screen for what felt like a full minute. Then she turned to Mark. "Mr. Mitchell, is that your vehicle?" Mark's face was pale. "Yes, but—" "And is that you on the footage?" "I can explain. It was an emergency. I had to." "You abandoned your children in a blizzard." Mark's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. The judge looked at the footage again. She watched it a second time. Hallett, then a third. Her face went from professional to cold. "I have seen enough," she said. "The respondent's complaint is dismissed. The petition for custody modification is granted. Sarah Mitchell is awarded full legal and physical custody of the minor children." She paused. "Mr. Mitchell, you are ordered to pay child support in the amount of $1,200 per month. You are also ordered to attend a court-certified parenting class within 90 days. Visitation will be supervised until further notice." "Nut!" Mark stood up. "That's not fair. She brainwashed them." "She's unstable." The judge held up a hand. "Another word, Mr. Mitchell, and I will hold you in contempt." Mark's lawyer put a hand on his arm. Mark sat down. Emily turned to me. She was smiling, just a little. "The children will also be granted visitation with their Aunt Claire Mitchell," the judge added. "Every other weekend, to be arranged through the mother." I let out a breath. I didn't know I was holding. Mark was let out through a side door. As he passed, he shot me a look of pure hatred. I met his eyes and said nothing. The footage had already said everything. The custody hearing ended on a Friday. By Monday, news travels fast in a small town. Faster when the truth is caught on video. I was at the grocery store that Monday afternoon, picking up milk and cereal for the weekend. Lily and Ethan were staying with Sarah now, but I wanted to have their favorite snacks ready for when they visited. I turned down the cereal aisle and saw a woman I recognized from the school where I teach. Mrs. Patterson. Her son was in my sophomore English class last year. She stopped her cart right in front of mine. "Claire," she said. Her eyes were wide. "I saw the news." "That video. Is that really your brother?" I nodded. "Yes." She shook her head slowly. "I can't believe he left those kids in a blizzard." My husband saw the story on a local Facebook group. "It's everywhere." I didn't say anything. I just picked up a box of Cheerios and put it in my cart. By Tuesday, it was on every local news site. Midwest Moms Group shared the story. Someone had recorded the courtroom audio. I never found out who, but the transcript made the rounds. Mark's words came back to haunt him. "She's unstable. She brainwashed them. The footage showed the opposite." The dealership where Mark worked had a reputation to protect. Midwest Auto Mall. Route 9. Big sign out front with a waving inflatable gorilla. Customers recognized the name, Mark Mitchell, the salesman who left his kids in a storm. Emily called me on Tuesday evening. "You might want to sit down," she said. "I'm already sitting." Mark got fired this afternoon. The general manager called him into the office. Said they couldn't afford the bad press. 3 customers called to complain. One of them canceled a $45,000 truck order. I felt my jaw tighten, not satisfaction, just stillness. What about Jessica? Emily laughed. A dry lawyer laugh. She dumped him. I heard it from Sarah. Jessica saw the video on the news and called him. He tried to explain it away. Said you edited the footage. She hung up. Then she texted Sarah to apologize. I asked what Jessica said. She wrote, I didn't know he was that kind of person. I'm sorry. Kind of person? That was the phrase. Not a mistake. Not a misunderstanding. A kind of person. The rest of the week was quiet. I graded papers. I called Sarah to check in. She told me Mark was living in the basement of a friend halfway across town. He sent her a text on Thursday. No apology. Just an excuse. I was stressed. You don't understand. She didn't respond. On Saturday, I picked up Lily and Ethan at Sarah's apartment. 9 o'clock in the morning. They ran to my car. Lily had her small backpack. Ethan had his stuffed dinosaur. He hugged me before he even got in the seat. Aunt Claire, he said, can we make pancakes? I said yes. We spent the weekend doing simple things. Building a fort in the living room. Watching a movie about a talking dog. I let them stay up an hour past their bedtime. They fell asleep on the couch, Ethan's head on my lap, Willie curled up under a blanket. On Sunday afternoon? Sarah called. Mark moved out of state, she said. He left this morning. He took what he could fit in his car. He said he was going to stay with a friend in Ohio. I closed my eyes. Did he say goodbye to the kids? No. He texted me, tell them I'll call, but he didn't ask to talk to them. I looked at Lily and Ethan. They were drawing pictures at the kitchen table. Lily colored a heart. She wrote Aunt Claire on top. She smiled at me. Look, Aunt Claire, I made this for you. Thank you, sweetheart. Sarah's voice cracked a little. I don't know if he'll ever come back. But that's fine with me. The kids have you. They have a safe person. Safe person. She used that exact phrase. On Sunday night, I tucked them into the guest bedroom. Ethan fell asleep first. Lily lay on her side looking at me. Ha! Aunt Claire? Yes? Daddy said you were dangerous. But you're not. You're safe. I didn't cry. I don't cry. I smoothed her hair and told her she was brave. She closed her eyes. Within a minute, she was breathing deeply, asleep. I stood in the doorway. The hallway light cast a long shadow. I thought about the doorbell footage, the text messages, the custody hearing, Mark's face in the courtroom. Everything, all of it, the truth never shouted. It just existed. Quiet and patient, and in the end, it was enough. The Sunday after the custody hearing, I drove to Sarah's apartment to pick up Lily and Ethan for the weekend. It had become routine. Sarah hugged them both at the door. She handed me a small bag with their toothbrushes and pajamas. Her eyes were tired but lighter than I had ever seen them. He called last night, she said quietly. Says he's moving to Ohio. I nodded. I wasn't surprised. He didn't ask about the kids. Sarah added, didn't say goodbye. I wanted to say something cutting, something sharp, but the kids were watching. So I just said, I'll have them back by Sunday afternoon. The drive home was quiet. Lily stared out the window. Ethan clutched his stuffed dinosaur. The snow had melted into gray slush along the roads. Winter was losing its grip. That night, I made spaghetti. Ethan helped stir the sauce. Lily set the table without being asked. Small things, normal things. The kind of normal Mark had stolen from them for years. After dinner, we watched a movie on the couch. Ethan fell asleep against my arm halfway through. Lily stayed awake until the credits rolled. Then she turned to me. Aunt Claire? Can I ask you something? Of course. She picked at a loose thread on the blanket. Daddy said you were dangerous. He said you might hurt us. I waited. She wasn't done. But you didn't. You made us hot chocolate. You let us sleep in your bed. You made pancakes with the faces. I said nothing. I let her find her own conclusion. She looked up at me. You're not dangerous. You're safe, safe. She said it like she was testing the word. Like she wanted to make sure it was real. I pulled her close. I didn't cry, I just held her. Ethan stirred but didn't wake. Later that night, after they were both asleep, I sat at my kitchen table. My phone was in my hand. The doorbell footage was still saved. The backup copies, too. I opened the file and watched it one last time. Mark's SUV pulling up at 7:58 p.m. The kids stumbling out into the snow. The doorbell ringing. The taillights disappearing into the storm. I pressed delete. The phone asked me to confirm. I tapped yes. Then I pulled the USB drive from my laptop drawer and put it in the lockbox in my closet. Evidence for a future I hoped would never need it. I stood in the hallway outside the guest bedroom. Lily's breathing was steady. Ethan's dinosaur was on the floor. I picked it up and placed it on the nightstand. The truth had never needed to shout. It had lived in the footage. In the texts. In the call logs. In Lily's quiet words over red sauce and boxed spaghetti. It had lived in the way Ethan stopped flinching when I touched his shoulder. It had lived in the way Lily started smiling without covering her mouth. It had lived in Sarah's shaky voice at the courthouse. Huh? And now, it lived here. In this house. In these children. In the new shape of our lives. Mark was in Ohio. I heard through Sarah that he was staying with a college friend. He had lost his job, his girlfriend, his reputation. He had lost his children. Not to me, to himself. I never said, I told you so. I never needed to. The doorbell camera still works. It still records every car that pulls into the driveway. Every delivery. Every visitor. But it doesn't capture what matters most anymore. It can't show Lily laughing at a funny movie. It can't show Ethan proudly presenting a lopsided drawing of a dinosaur. It can't show what a safe person actually looks like. That's not what cameras are for. Some things you just have to live. Thanks for listening to the end of this story. If it resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe. More raw, real stories are coming your way. See you in the next one.